In this video tutorial, you'll discover how to create a great looking blog layout for long form blog content like this. As you can see here, we have a table of content that is a sticky table of content, and when somebody wants to navigate inside the article, they can easily do that. This layout is perfect if you have long form content on your blog. The inspiration for this blog layout comes from the Lemlist blog, where Vuk and his team are doing a great job at publishing really in-depth blog content. And as you can see, this is a 15-minute read, so it's a really long post, and they have this table of content that helps you navigate the post. And in this tutorial, you'll discover exactly how to make all of this with Thrive Theme Builder and without any custom coding. I'll show you how you can have this call to action underneath your title and before the rest of your content to help people get into your content and read it more often. And then of course, I'll show you how to get a sticky header and how to set up this sticky table of content that allows people to navigate your blog post. Sounds good? Then let's get started. For this, let's go into a WordPress dashboard, go to our Thrive dashboard. From here, click on Thrive Theme Builder. Now, because I want to show you how to create a new template, I won't explain how to go through the site setup wizard, because in this case, I'm considering that you already have your website set up. If you want to learn how to set up your website from scratch, then we have tutorials to do exactly that. But for now, let's go into our templates and let's add a new template, because we want to make sure that we can assign this new template only when we use long form content. Now, not every content on your blog might be long form, so that is why we won't make it the default blog post template, but we will add a new long form template. So from here, click on Add New, then let's give our template a recognizable name. Pick for a single blog post and for a standard blog post. And now what we'll do is, instead of starting from scratch, we'll choose one of the templates that already has some of the elements that we want to use. Now, as you can see here on our example, the elements that we are using is, of course, the title of our blog post. Then we have this image, the author, a featured image, and then here we want to lay out with this sidebar so that we will be able to put our table of content in a sidebar. So let's check if we find a template that already has some of these elements. Here, the templates that you can see are specific to the Omni theme, because I'm using the Omni companion theme on this demo website. But if you are using one of the other companion themes, such as Shapeshift, then you will see that you still have templates, and they might not be exactly the same, but they will have very similar elements like what we're looking for here. So like I said, we are looking for a title and maybe an image, author image, and then the featured image. So I would probably not go for one of the full screen featured image, because that's not what we're looking for. But this first template actually seems pretty good for as a start. Now, it really doesn't matter all that much, because we will change it anyways, and I will show you how to change it. But if we can save ourselves a little bit of time by choosing something that's already done, then why not, right? So let's pick this one. So now this created this new template that we will be able to edit. When you're editing in Thrive Theme Builder, you will see one of your blog posts here that is used as the demo content for this template. So to make sure that you get a really clear vision on what you are working with, how it will look on your website, you have this demo content. Now, if you want to change which blog post is shown here, so maybe the one that is shown by default is not the one that is actually your long form content, and you want to make sure that you pick the blog post that is long form content, then you can go in here and you will see a list of all the available blog posts on your website. So here, for example, I can switch to this blog post, and now you can see the elements on this blog post. Now, let me switch back to the one I had before. And let's start customizing this template. So the first thing that is important to understand is that we have these different sections here. So you will have your header, which you can hide or show. Then we have our top section. Again, we can hide this or show this. Then we have our content section. And as you can see at the moment, we don't have a sidebar, but the moment that you hover over your content area, you can show a sidebar here. So that is what we'll want to do for our table of content. And then if we scroll down, we have our bottom section. So that's this book a session now section and our footer right there. Now, as you can see, the top section goes full width and the content section is the one that has the sidebar. Now, why is this important to understand? Well, if we go back to the example that we're trying to build, you can see that the sidebar only starts under this featured image. So this indicates to me that everything above this featured image has to be in our top section. So our title, this call to action, this divider element, and then this metadata, and even this featured image will have to be in our top section because it's only under this image that we split up our content in the content section and the sidebar. Going back to our work environment, so we can delete the featured image from here, and we know that we will want to add it in our top section. Or we can drag it and then add it to our top section. Now let's delete this one. And let's also delete these social icons. And then with our content wrapper, when we hover over, we can show the sidebar. Now, as you can see at the moment, we have things in the sidebar that we don't need, so we'll work on that in a little bit. But first, let's work on our top section. The layout that we're aiming for here in our top section is first this information that has a 700 pixel width, and then we have our image here that is clearly wider. And so for your information, this is 1040 pixels. Now, the way I discovered this is when we are on our original website, I can go into the inspect mode in my browser and then click on an element. And from here, you can see that this image is 1040. So this is indicated here. And then if we go here, you can see if you go into computed that this is 700 pixels. So that is how you can discover the different layouts on different websites. Now, don't worry about this too much. You can also eyeball it and make it look the way you want. But if you want to copy an exact layout, that is how you would do it. All right, so now we know that we want this image to be 1040. So for that, let's take our image, go into layout and positioning, and as the max width, we'll put 1040 pixel, and then we'll align it in the center. And for this information above, we want everything, so several elements to only be 700 pixels. And for that, instead of having to set the width for every single element, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a content box in here, and I'm gonna set this content box to be a max width of 740 pixels. Now, the reason that I'm putting 740 and not 700 is because I will keep these 20 pixel padding on both sides, which will allow me on responsive, so on mobile, to make sure that I have that distance also from the side of the screen. You will see immediately what I mean. So now let's drag our title element in here. So this text element, we can select it and then drag it inside our content box. And then the same with this column layout. Now, if you have trouble selecting something on the page, the easiest way is to click on the element and then use the breadcrumbs to select the element that you want to select. So in this case, I want to select the columns element. And then I can drag this and drag it underneath the text. So now all of this is in my content box. If I want to select my content box, again, I can select anything inside it and then in the breadcrumbs go to content box. And now I want to position this content box center aligned. All right. Now, one thing that I'll do is I will select this title, and I won't link this to the post title because this is the blog post. So we don't want the title to be linked to the blog post again, right? All right, now let's look how we are doing compared to the original that we're building. So from here, I can see that my text is left aligned and that we have this divider element. And then we also need to rework this author section with the metadata a little bit. And here we have this 3-minute read, which is something that I'll show you exactly how to do. Let's go back to Thrive Theme Builder, click on our text and make this left aligned. And then add our divider. Go into our main options, make this a 1-pixel divider. And now we don't have any information about the comments on our original version, so I will delete this comments element. And then here I have the image of the author, and I already have the author name also. So what I'll do is just drag this, and then the author name, it has to be a little bit smaller. So let's say maybe 12 pixels. And then underneath that, we want to add the date. So let's add another text element in here. And we can either add this component, the post date, or we can use a dynamic text. Now, let's add the post date. It's the easiest way to do this underneath our author name. Now, after this post date, I want to start typing because I want to have this 3-minute read information. And this information is dynamic because we want this to be updated depending on how long our blog post actually is. So for this, I'm just start typing, add a little dash there. And the information that I want is the read time. So for that, I go into our dynamic link. So it's this stack of coin here. Select our source, which in this case is the content. And then select our option, the reading time remaining in minutes. Now insert. So from here, I can see that it says 3. So that's the dynamic value, and then minutes remaining, which I can now change to anything I wanted to say. So a 3 minutes read. And now let's also make everything in here 12 pixels. All right. Now you can see we have here, we still have the 3-column layout from before with the comments. So I'll delete this column, and then let's just drag this again to the place where we want it to be. So we have our title, we have our divider, we have our metadata with the author information and the reading time. Then we have our featured image. So this is starting to look pretty well. Let's now first work on our sidebar. So what we want to do in our sidebar is we want to add a table of content in there. So let's search for the table of contents and then drag it inside our sidebar. And from here we can choose a template. So the one I picked was this one, I believe. And as you can see, automatically this will use the color of your theme. So in our case, this is the dark blue that we're using on this theme. So if yours looks pink or purple or whatever, it will take your theme color. Then, of course, we can start customizing this table of content. So for that, first of all, we can choose which titles are shown. So how many of these titles do we want to show? In the example, I only had the H2s that were showing. And then we can also, like here, you can see we have a whole lot of options of things that you can change. So in my case, I don't want to number the levels so that it just takes the title, because as you can see here in a blog post, I usually will already put like inspiration 1 or inspiration 2, which then would make it redundant to have the numbered list there. So I'll put the list type to none, and I don't want this table to be collapsed. So here we have this collapsible option, but for this example, we actually want this to stay expanded all the time. So let's untoggle this here so that the table cannot be collapsed. Now, one more thing that I want to do is I actually want to delete this this title here that says table of content, because we don't need it. And so for that, I'll go into the edit table of contents. And then you can see once you click on something, again, using these breadcrumbs, which is really, really useful. When we click on this text, you can see that this is part of the table of content title. When we select this element, we can delete this. And so now we simply have this element, this heading list with the headings that are in our blog post. Now, again, because this is on our theme template level, it will automatically update with the content that we have in our blog post. So don't try to edit the exact text of this, because that will just take the text of your blog post. You want to think about this as a template, right? So the content will change and you only want to think about the design. Now, I'm going to leave this the way it is for now. And then I will delete anything else in my sidebar. So this nice call to action, we'll also delete it, unfortunately. And now what we want to do is we want to make sure that this stays sticky on scroll. Because let's save our work. And if we preview this now, you will see that we have our table of content here in the sidebar, but when we scroll, it doesn't stay sticky. So we still need to fix that. So let's go back to Theme Builder, and then let's select our table of content element. And from here, go into our scroll behavior, and we want this to be sticky. And we want it to stick to the top, and we want this to be the moment, the end of the parent container. And then we'll also need to change the distance on top of the screen, but I first want to show you what happens before we change that. So now, again, let's go into our preview mode. So now we have our blog post here, and as you can see, it is sticky, but as you can also see, it goes underneath another sticky element that we have on this blog post, which is our header element. So we need to make sure that we offset the table of content enough so that it will stay underneath this header element. So that's exactly what I wanted to show you here with the distance from the top of the screen. So let's put this at 100 pixels, and let's preview our page again. And now when we scroll down, you can see that it stays sticky and that it's not overlapping with our header section. And like I said, you can also see in the preview that this automatically takes our titles. So here, inspiration 2, inspiration 2. So you want to make sure that you don't try to change any content when you are working in Theme Builder. All right, now I promised you one more thing, and that was this call to action element that we have underneath the title. So in our inspiration, you can see that I have here ready to create your monthly bullet journal, check your inspiration below. Or if we go back to our original inspiration on the Lemlist blog, they also have this call to action. So it's a little blurb of text that you want to use to get people interested in reading your content and actually committing to, well, here it's a 15 minutes read. So actually committing to reading those 15 minutes. So it is quite important, especially if in a layout like this, you have, you would need to scroll to start seeing the beginning of your text. Now, because this is a template, you don't want to add a text element in here. So we could do this, add a text element in here, and then now start writing your text here, because let's imagine that we write our bullet journal text in here and save this. This would look good on this specific blog post, but the moment that we switch content to another blog post, you can see that this text is part of the template now. And so it does not make sense to have this ready to create your monthly bullet journal on the top of our text. So what we need is dynamic text, right? And the way to do this with Thrive Theme Builder is to use Advanced Custom Fields, which is a free plugin. So first, let me delete this text because we don't want this in our template. And then let's save our template. And now let's go to our WordPress dashboard to start working with Advanced Custom Fields. So in our dashboard, let's go to Plugins. and then add new. And so here you can search for advanced custom fields. The plugin you'll want to install is this one. It has over 2 million active installs. It's a super popular plugin. So go ahead and click on it to install it and activate it. Once you have this installed and activated, you will see that you have a new menu in your sidebar, which is called custom fields. And so from here, we'll add a new custom field. We'll call this call to action. And we want to add a field, which is our, let's call this CTA, our field label. And this is a text field. You can give instructions here. And all the rest, you can just leave it the way it is. One important thing is here the location. So we want to make sure that this is on post type and that it shows on every post. All right, let's publish this. So what we did now is we added an extra field in the backend of our WordPress posts that we will be able to use and style using Thrive Theme Builder. So let's go to our posts. And let's go, for example, in this one, our 5 elements for our male model lookbook, and then edit this. Now, when you scroll down, you see that here we have a new field that is called call to action, and that we have the CTA field, and that it says write 2 sentences to make people want to read your blog post. So that was the description that I gave for this. So now we can add our description here in the backend of WordPress. Now, once we fill this out, let's update our blog post and go back to Thrive Theme Builder. Let's also make sure that we reload this page. And now we can add a text element. But rather than having this as static text, let's delete the static text. We want to go into this stack of coins, select a dynamic text, and for this we're going to go into custom fields and then select our custom field here. As you can see now, the text that I just added in the backend of WordPress gets pulled into the template, and for each different blog post this will be a different text. So let's save this. And now let's preview. As you can see, the table of content also got updated with our titles in this blog post. Now, after doing all of this, there might still be one thing really confusing, and that is when you look at your website not in preview mode. So let's just go to the front end of the website and load this exact blog post. You'll see that it's not using this long form content that we just created. So how can we now make sure that our blog posts are actually using this template? Well, for that, what we want to do is when you're on the blog post that you want this new template to be used on, in Edit with Thrive, you want to select Edit with Thrive Architect, go into the post breadcrumb, and here into the post template settings. So you can see that by default, it will take the default template that you created on your site. And the one that we created is available here in our selection. And so the one that we made is the long form content. So we can activate this and save our work. And now if we look at this blog post, not in preview, but in a normal mode, you can see that it is using our new templates. Now, one last thing, in case you are super happy with your template and you decide that you would want every blog post on your website to use this template, rather than having to assign every blog post like I just did to this new template, you can go into your Theme Builder templates. So from the WordPress dashboard, go to Thrive Theme Builder. Then in our templates, let's select all templates. And now we can see here our long form content. And if we click on these 3 dots, we can set this as our default template. So now every blog post that had the split layout before will now have this new long form layout that we just created. Thank you for following this tutorial. I hope you found it useful and that you see how easy it is with Thrive Team Builder and the whole Thrive suite to create your own custom website without any custom coding, without needing a developer or a designer. Now, if you have any other blog layouts that you really like and that you would want me to show you how to create in Thrive Team Builder, then leave them in the comments below. And of course, if you are an online entrepreneur, don't hesitate to click that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you're notified when we publish new videos.